Well, when we started the company in 93, it was my 30th birthday, was my first day of work. And I remember approaching the venture capitalist, and the venture capitalist we approached in Silicon Valley, Sequoia Capital in Sutter Hill. At the time, the sensibility of venture capitalists were to ask you the question, this question that was really quite confounding. It's what's the killer app? If you recall, back then, everybody asked you, what's the killer app? If you were starting the company, what's your killer app? Because it was, they were looking for the next Excel, they were looking for the next Word. And I was always challenged by that. And the reason for that was because I knew what the killer app was going to be. I was just hard pressed to say it. And so I did. I said video games. And they said, you can't start a company building video games. You know, this is, and at the time, the type of companies that were being started were Sun Microsystems, you know, SAP was being talked about, Oracle was being talked about, and here's this guy talking about video games. And I'll be honest, my parents thought it was a kind of a pointless exercise as well. And notice today, the video game industry is larger than film and music. Where we see it going, I guess, is the type of applications are in fact rather interesting, and it's extrapolation of understanding that graphics is your fundamentally interactive medium. Some of the exciting things that I see around the corner, augmented reality is one of my favorites. You know, if you take a look at where we are today with video games, Second Life is a virtual reality type of application. Augmented reality is using graphics to supplement what we see here. And so the perfect application for that, for example, would be automotive. In the future, what you look out your screen, the screen that you look out won't be glass or plastic, but it will be active display. And that active display would be supplemented with graphics. It could be night vision. It could be something as simple as your speedometer, or it could be all kinds of information that, for example, if I said, talk to my car and I said, find me the closest gas station, and all of a sudden this very subtle gas station would be rendered on your screen, semi-translucent, out in the distance, you know, and navigating you there. So augmented reality, I think, is going to be a very important application. You could imagine augmented reality being very important to medicine. A doctor who is using real-time MRI, and MRI will be real-time in the future, and imagine that information is wirelessly put onto a goggle, and now all of a sudden you have X-ray vision. Right. And so a doctor with X-ray vision, you could imagine being quite a powerful capability. So augmented reality is pretty exciting to me. Dimensionalization of displays is very exciting to me. Today, when we look at a display, what we see is, in fact, a two-dimensional image. But in the future, in the very near future, interesting technologies of, it's called lenticular displays, putting small bubbles on top of every single pixel so that the display looks, in fact, dimensionalized. It looks three-dimensional to you. The image doesn't pop out of the screen, not like one of those scary 3D movies, but the distance seems very, very far. Wow. And so it dimensionalizes the display for you. Those are interesting.
So these are not on the market yet, or?
They're not on the market, but there are things that we're working on. And right. You know, I think three-dimensional graphics and graphics technology is going to have decades of innovation ahead of it.
You are in an industry that is, I guess, filled with 800-pound gorillas. I won't mention the names, but in one of the articles recently, you are taking one of these guys head on. How do you ensure you stay competitive?
Well, you know, anything that's worthwhile doing is you're gonna be confronted with extraordinary competition. You know, the goal in life isn't to be the Walmart of retail. The goal in life is to have a unique perspective and address a particular market niche. You know, NVIDIA's purpose has always been to make a difference in the world and make a difference in the industry by solving the world's most challenging visual computing problems. We are very, very narrowly focused on solving visual computing challenges. And whether it's a visual computing challenge associated with medical research or designing of a car or making a movie or playing a video game or augmented reality in the future, those are types of applications that are very uniquely passionate to us. And we are more passionate about this field than just about anybody in the world. We have more expertise in this field than anybody in the world. And in terms of being a gorilla, I just saw the numbers come out of all of the technology companies in the world. I think we're ranked number 17th in R&D, and 17th in R&D, completely focused on one singular area, would put us the gorilla of visual computing. Right. And so no one invests more in visual computing in the world than we do. And I think that it's put us in an interesting place. You know, when companies as large as IBM and Sony and Toshiba get together to build a game console, and they work on the graphics technology for 4 years, and when they couldn't achieve it, they call us. And when you're General Electric and you're trying to build a next generation three-dimensional MRI system, you call us. When you're Mercedes and you wanted to design the C300 completely in digital form and test drive it for several million miles before you, in the computer before you actually build it, you call us. And the reason for that is because we're better at it than anybody in the world. And so I think that irrespective of what you do, if you stay intensely focused on it and you do what you're passionate about, it doesn't matter how big your competition is.
I think
I'm always trying to figure out how to grow. And maybe another way of saying it, how to be more relevant. How can the work that we do be more important to society and be more important to the world? And in a lot of ways, when you're trying to answer those questions, in the business terms, you're answering how do you grow? Sure. There's the flip side of that coin, which is we can only continue to be relevant if we invest. It costs about $500 million to build a generation of new technology for us now. We invest about $1 billion a year in R&D, and there's no guiding posts that tells me where to go anymore. You know, we are expected to be the innovators of visual computing today, and the work that we do, we create for ourselves. And so on the one hand, I'm asking ourselves, how can we be more relevant? That's the same question as what should we go invest in so that we can add more make a greater contribution. On the other hand, unless we grow, we can't invest. And in my business, if you don't invest, you'll be out of business soon. And so I need to continue to look for that, you know, solve those multiple equations, and that's partly the fun of being an entrepreneur. Is, you know, creating the future.